Hey everyone, welcome to the Warriors podcast. And today I have two amazing guests. We have up to the left of me right here is going to be Fletcher Barnes, and then below is Henry Davis, and they're both filmmakers of Blue Marble. So, guys, I just want to first say thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you both. I'm really excited to hear more about your story and most importantly, share it with the rest of the world. So, let's start off with how did you two meet?
I met Fletch the first day of college, actually. We both went to Tulane for very different reasons, I feel like. And there was a common link between this kid that I had gone to camp with growing up and that Fletch had met because Fletch is actually from Tampa. And he had gone to Tampa during Hurricane Katrina, and Katrina was hit New Orleans. And he kind of made the link for us. And, pretty quickly, I think Fletch and I vibed because for me, Fletch brought out like this jovial, childlike spirit in me. I remember the first day I met Fletch, or the day walking back because we had gone out, which was a crazy thing to begin with because Fletch didn't like go out like normal people that I had ever gone out with because he actually danced. And so he was letting loose. And then as soon as we were leaving and going back home, I remember Fletch goes, "Put on a beat," and just drops a freestyle on the way back. And I'm like, wow, this kid's a little different. Which was fun. So yeah, that was my first day meeting Fletch.
That's amazing. So it was definitely an amazing friendship as soon as it started, like you guys said, and it seems like you got along immediately. What led you to start saying like, oh, let's start a movie together, let's do something together, like send out this amazing message from Blue Marble? What led to all that? I'm so curious. I don't know if Fletcher wants to ask this question, or Henry. I should probably just call out Fletcher. Can you answer this one, or Henry?
Well, I was sending him brainwaves, and I thought he was going to catch it.
Yeah, you just have pretty bad service, so they get caught.
Yep.
So, what really made us want to go out and do something different and create this film? Am I picking up that question right? Okay, so we actually took really, I would say it started with a lot of our friends choosing to get internships and go and do something in like the corporate world. And I didn't really understand the whole idea of internships because a lot of them weren't paid. And I really just wanted to do something a little different. So I had met this captain about a year back, and she's like, if you ever need a job, just hit me up. And so I hit her up and ended up working on a boat down in Key West for a summer.
Wow.
With Henry. And we worked down there, and it was almost too good to be true. Like our whole situation down there, we were living for free, and we're in paradise, taking families out snorkeling. But there was something inside of us that was saying, we got to get out to California. And if you don't know this, Key West is actually at mile marker number 0. So it is the lowest point of our country. Yeah. And so we started there and went on this month-and-a-half long road trip all the way out to LA.
Oh my
God.
God.
During that road trip, I think we were vlogging the whole thing. So recording and making these videos each stop and on these adventures. And when you are creating something together, whatever that is, there starts to become a bond between. And I think through creating together, Henry and I started to understand each other in a different way, in a deeper way. And I started to see a side of him I'd never seen, and trying to get him out of his comfort zone more. And then he was challenging me a lot of times. Oh, is that air blower bothering you guys?
No, we don't even hear it.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're good.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And it really, and then in Utah, Henry was almost like, it's like 2 or 3 in the morning. We like to just power through a lot of times, sleeping in the car, just setting up the enos or yoga mats on the side of the road, trying to do as cheap as possible. And I told Henry a story, and it was a story that my mom told me. It was about this man who was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he was told he had 180 days left to live.
Wow.
And in that moment, the man realized that he had just been going through the motions of life and wasn't really getting the absolute most out of it. So this man decides to go to the store and he buys a jar and a bag of blue marbles. And he sets out to live what he called a blue marble day. So being consciously grateful that he's alive, that he is living, he's a living being, and could go out and spread joy and feel these feelings. And so he's doing things that are and he's finding more joy in the things that he's doing because he's more present. And so when he feels like he really lived one of these days, he'd come back and he would drop a blue marble into his jar. And as his life began to fill up, so did his jar. And when the man finally passed, his jar was full of blue marbles. And his wife and his kids were so saddened by the whole thing, and to see like their husband, their father had passed, but it was almost like a wake-up call to say, hey, like, you can't wait for this diagnosis. So when I told Henry that story, we were already taking so many videos and everything that it was almost like a light. Like, I saw, have you ever watched Jimmy Neutron? You know, before he gets like a brain blast, you see all these like chemicals, and I was watching I was watching Henry almost have like a brain blast right in front of me, where he's like putting together all these things. He's like, I don't know but we got to do something with this story, man. Like, there's something. And that sparked what the whole journey of what we've been doing with Blue Marble. And because we were taking so much video at the time, we were asking, all right, like, how can we live our Blue Marble days? And we were thinking, all right, like, we documenting them through video. What if this whole thing was an app? And that became what Marble was at the time, was a mobile application that gamified and really streamlined the editing process on your phone, because we realized there's so many kids already.
I think just this idea, right, that we became slowly wedded to, which is this idea of creating a social video app, using this concept, because the whole time where it's the biggest question has always been, well, what is Blue Marble, right? This story is great. Like, okay, we're trying to live our Blue Marble days while we're trying to help other people do it. But what is it? And that manifested for a long time as this app idea, in which we were trying to help people document and share and inspire people to go out and live these. And I think tied to the way that we wanted to experience them at the time, which was very much like travel and adventure. That we really targeted that, and that's kind of how this brand began. Is with kind of a lens of, all right, to have a Blue Marble day, you need to go out and experience it. And a lot of this journey for us has been discovering, well, yes, okay, that's great. Maybe it is easiest to live a Blue Marble day when you're out and you're doing the things that really fill you up with the people who fill you up. And the other side of that is there's so much of this life that lives far outside of our control, right? In a situation that, you know what, I don't really like this situation. And so that in so many ways became an internal journey as well as a collective journey for us as we kind of dug deeper into this concept of living a Blue Marble Day. And it's kind of what ultimately led us to, right when we were at the point of going to build this app. And we had actually another one of our friends had dropped out of school and was living out there with us. And we had found the perfect coder. His name was Bidea Baker, this just ex-DJ, snowboarder, professional pistol shooter. I mean, just we eventually, after searching for, because the one thing that Fletch and I do not possess, well, there's a lot of things we don't possess. One of them being none of us really know how to code, especially something to this level.
Right.
And so the key cog in this machine was finding the right developer, the right coder to bring this vision that we had spent, thousands of hours designing and iterating on and attempting to gamify the video editing process to life. And so eventually we meet this man, and his name is Bidea Baker.
Oh,
and the thing about Bidea is he just had done it all. I mean, he was a professional DJ, snowboarder, pistol shooter, jack of all trades developer.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, he was excited about the project, and it kind of forced us to realize, all right, we're about to have to go raise some serious capital to make this thing happen. And there were some larger conversations had between Fletch, myself, and our buddy Chris, who had come aboard the project. And I think we realized in a lot of senses that idea that I'm talking about with the Blue Marble Day of it being so wrapped up in our situation, this realization that, hey, maybe we don't actually know exactly what a Blue Marble Day is. Maybe we haven't figured this thing out yet. We haven't even told people about it, really. And we're going to create an app that's going to put more people in their phones right now. It kind of became this, it seemed almost backwards from what we really aim to do, which is to create authentic connection amongst one another and to build community, really. And so there was a tough decision made, which is, hey, maybe the app is step 9 and we're on step 1.
Right.
So what's right? And I think that's what I get a sense of in my ambitions and my dreams is, okay, yeah, I can see where I want to go with this. What becomes muddled is those steps in between. So coming back to today to be like, okay, well, what's the right step today to get to that place that I see myself going? And we really had to come back to that day and just say, okay, well, what's the step, right? Where can we really go? What can we do amongst ourselves? And I think the heartbeat to this whole thing has always been video, and so kind of coming back to that place of being like, all right, well, what can we really do with video? Well, we can educate, we can teach, we can inspire, we can empower, we can do all these things that we want to do. And maybe we really need to put our focus here, and it's going to be through our media that we're able to build community and actually create something much bigger than what maybe we're already imagining, right? And yeah.
So when you decide to make it into a movie, talk to me about the movie itself. What was the process like? First of all, before we even go into that, explain the movie itself. Explain what that movie was about, because I know a lot of the viewers probably haven't seen the movie yet, and I know you guys are maybe thinking of putting it online after the showings. So if you don't mind just kind of sharing with them exactly what that movie was about, and then we'll just talk about that one after that. Maybe Fletcher should answer this one, just in case.
Yeah, so the movie really follows our journey as we go on, or as we go on this journey to figure out what this word love really means. And that whole thing, the journey takes place, or the story takes place, because while we're out in LA, we meet this guy who was on this crazy mission to go to 24 countries and hand out 6,000 cards that his dad had made back in the 80s.
Right.
Messaging cards of affirmation. And when we met him in LA, he was halfway done with his mission. And normal guy, like working, and we didn't realize, and it took deeper conversations with us to realize that he was actually a traveling love wizard. And his whole mission was to go around to these countries and raise the vibration of love and pray and see people for who they are, and try to get dialogue started around this word love. And so that the story in the movie really covers our characters and why we decided to go on this journey. And then the journey inside the journey is this trip over to Africa where we followed this traveling love wizard over to 4 countries in Africa. And there was really a feeling that Henry had to go over and tell this guy's story, and it made 0 sense to me. And there was a lot of hold up, like, whoa, buddy, because of the moving parts that we had in our own lives,
right?
And the lack of finances, the the what ifs, the trying to communicate to friends and parents about this whole thing. And as we went over there to Africa with Augie, our style of filming, because we had done so much stuff in front of the camera, we were recording our reactions to everything we were witnessing. And so as we were recording this love wizard and his performance art, we also recorded each other and ourselves with no intention or no thought of like, hey, we're going to be in this as well. It just was our style. And we started to realize halfway through this journey that Augie was the vessel and spreading love to a lot of these places. And we were the fairy dust behind Augie. Because as he's running through these cities or these villages, people would like stop and their heads would turn and ask us like, what is this for?
Right.
And Augie's kind of already by them, and many times it was Henry and I who would stop for a second and tell them what we started to realize, that okay, we're not just on the outside of the story, we're also in this story. But it really wasn't until we got to it was almost like a couple months later, actually, yeah, where Mackenzie, the guy who ended up editing this whole film, was brought up the idea that we would be characters in the film. And so that was a huge shift on a story stance, and as just individuals too, who that level of vulnerability and that level of saying like, hey, here's my story, or hey, here's a painful experience and this is how I grew. I'm going to like put it out to the world and say like, hey, here's a chunk of me. Here's a large part of my soul, of who I am. Judge me, love me, accept me. It's a mix of things, of because it's so authentic. It's really just saying, or it's really telling what happened, and then offering our experience as just a way to say, hey, this is our experience. This is what prompted us to go on a journey. This is what prompted me to go on a journey. And then as a viewer, you get to relate with a character, or relate with a story, or be able to empathize with that story in some way. If you don't, then you don't. But it's that level of compassion that I believe humans, we do have. We're compassionate towards someone who's in pain, or compassionate towards someone who's struggling. And so I think that gives the viewer, grants them permission to almost say, like, hey, when you've gone through your shit, or you've gone through those hard times, it's really been a knocking on your door to say, hey, there's like something deeper calling you, or you're about to like go on like your own journey.
Or kind of maybe you already are on your own journey, which is,
yeah,
I think part of this, right? Is Blue Marble Sky, a journey to love, being that, hey, we can show you our journey and hopefully help you realize that you already are on this journey, because we all long and need and crave the experience of love, whether it's giving, receiving, both, all of it. And so I think that's the thing is it's easy to look back and say, what inspired the journey, or what prompted all of this. And the reality is, like, we didn't even know we were on a journey when we're in the journey.
Right.
Right. And the journey is a hindsight thing. And so that's what I would hope that people get from this, is realizing, wait a second, I'm already in the journey. I'm on the journey. I'm living my dream. I'm already, everything is here for me. And so just kind of it certainly opened our eyes, and I hope it opens the viewers' eyes to realizing that you're already exactly where you need to be, and you're already on this journey to love. And you don't have to do all these things that Fletcher and I did to find it.
I love that. It's beautiful. That's a beautiful message, guys. And I think from what I've been told, and I really hate myself for not being able to see it, but from what I've been told, it really inspired many people. So I think you did exactly just that. And that was really shown in that movie. From going on this journey and being able to really showcase it, because you videotaped everything, what would you say is one truth you both found on that journey that you would like to share with us? And it can be separate, so we can start with Henry or Fletcher, whoever.
HG, you can go first, man.
Yeah, I think a truth. There's two small things that come to mind. Actually, they're pretty big things. The first is that love truly is it. That they're really, for me, the truth on this journey is that when you talk about living a fulfilled, happy, joyful life, if love is not at the forefront of that equation, then I don't believe that it's actually, it may be all out of wax. And so I notice in our culture that we're told to pursue happiness, which in essence isn't a bad thing. It's great that we're encouraged to discover happiness in our life. And the truth that I've found is that my path to happiness isn't in aiming at this word happiness, but actually in putting my focus and my priority in how I'm treating people and how I'm loving people and receiving that love and forgiving people. And it's in that love that happiness flows out. And so that became a really, really important truth for me. And then when we get into this idea of love, part of this is understanding the history which has led up to this conversation, being that we're not the first people or the 131st people to talk about love or try to answer these deeper questions. And this film isn't about defining love. That's not the purpose of the film. Because what I've found is that we're never going to fully agree on the definition. We may never agree on where the source of love is. There's a mystery to love. And that's what makes it so special. That's what makes it so unique. Where we can agree and where love becomes a bridge is when it's put to action. And the truth of love is that it's a verb.
I love that.
And that's it. That's the simplicity of it is we can talk about it all we want, but it really is meant to be an action word and something that's when it becomes transformative. That's when it just comes from a concept that's up in the clouds to something that is directly transforming the world that we operate in, is when it's put into action, when it's used as a verb.
That's beautiful.
That's, I think yeah. So that's kind of what we've carried into. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that's just beautiful because, it is something that you have to use in action. So changing the perspective on love in itself, and it's very inspiring because it does encourage people to start using it in action versus just seeing it as just an emotion. So I love that. How about you, Fletcher?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd say the truth that I have found on this journey, is really that everyone is creative, and creativity has been the largest player in like my vocabulary of the word that I've come back to so many times, because I hold this deep belief that everyone is creative, and figuring out what that creativity looks like for me, and figuring out how I can pull that creativity out of other people, and then figure out how to use that creativity to put more good and to put that love into action. Because that the creativity, it always is nails on a chalkboard to hear when someone says I'm not creative. I almost want to be like, poo, 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 poo. Like, no, you are creative. It's just number one, you're telling yourself you're not creative. So that's, and then number two, it's just, we're all creative in our own separate ways. So I'm not going to be creative how you're creative. And I've always believed I'm creative, and I think high school and the beginning of college kind of like I suppressed that creativity. And so going on this whole journey allowed me to tap into expression, which is a huge part of creativity, and expressing who I am, expressing what I'm feeling, expressing what I'm witnessing, my experiences. And that granted me this freedom to get creative and try out different forms of creativity. And so creativity is a word that I come back to all the time. And it's a word I feel like will always be present for me, and I hope will take me down boundless, beautiful rabbit holes as I try to figure out and try to put more of it into the world.
It almost sounds like it's your freedom. The creativity leads to your freedom, and it gives others a freedom as well to express, to innovate, to
and
create.
Yeah. I love how you just put that. Innovate and create, and realizing that the intention I put behind my creativity holds a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And so if almost shifting your heart and shifting the posture of your heart, your creativity then can really influence and open a lot of people up to feeling or thinking about life. You're almost like the gatekeeper as a creative,
to yourself,
as a person.
Yeah.
To then think about something differently, to like let someone else see something differently.
It's almost like, because I understand the feeling of suppression towards your creativity, because when you feel that way, you never feel like you're passionate, or you feel like you're closed in a box, and it's like you can't get out of it. And I liked how you said that everybody has a different way of being creative, and when they identify that creativity, they just have to go out there and seek it. And it goes hand in hand with what Henry said: love it and put it into action. Right? Put that love into action. So I love that those two things were something that you guys found to be true, because that really resonates, I'm sure, with a lot of my viewers and myself as well. is loving what you do and being able to give yourself permission and the freedom to be creative while doing it.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways that creativity, it doesn't always have to be something that is your career. Not everyone is going to pursue something in the creative arts, and that's okay. But knowing that, hey, if once a week you get with your buddies and rock out in the garage, that's filling up like a part of your soul, and you're giving yourself an outlet to express and really just fill that part up of your soul. So it looks so different for each person, and that's perfectly it's perfectly cool however that is.
I love that. I just totally imagine a bunch of 45-year-olds just jamming out every weekend, hiding from their wives and their kids.
Yes.
No, but yeah, no, but I'm with you 100%. It doesn't have to be career oriented. It just be some way, whatever that looks like to you, you just do it, and you do it as many times as you want or whenever you think your body needs it. So
yeah.
Now I ask this question to all my guests, and it's the last question I ask. What's your definition of a true warrior? We can start off with Henry. If Henry, you want to answer that one? We lost Henry.
I'll start, and then
we'll go ahead.
A warrior. The first word that came to my head was an advocate, and an activist. And so a warrior to me is, I think, the first thing that really comes to my head, and the mental, or in an imagery, I really think about the gladiators. I think about warrior, the position in yoga, and what that position is holding, and it comes from this sense of power. You are a powerful being, and you are standing in your power. So a warrior isn't scared of running into battle and fighting for something that they believe is true and that they believe is right. So they're wearing everything, whether it's their country, whether it's their beliefs, whether it's their family, they're wearing everything on their shoulders, and they're going into battle, they're going into fight, they're going into this world wearing all of that, and they're fighting for something bigger. And that fight, I believe, isn't something, it's definitely not easy. It's definitely not rewarding, but I think that the true power of a warrior comes with how many times that warrior is willing to get back up after he's gotten knocked down, or she's gotten knocked down, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
The warriors come in all different shapes and sizes.
And genders and whatnot. I love it.
Of course.
I love that. It's definitely a warrior's way of living. And so I love that you said that.
Oh, last little thought on it.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead. Don't worry.
Was the idea of a warrior to me is being so concerned about being pro something that you don't have time for the antis. So let's say you're so pro love, you're so pro peace, and you're so pro that you don't have time to say, oh, anti-war, against. It's you don't even have time for that as a warrior, because you're so focused on putting this message of love out that you can't worry about antagonize or being anti something.
I love that.
Little thought that popped.
No, I love that because it shows that the warriors just focus on themselves, and not necessarily only them, but rather their own growth and their own ability to achieve their highest version of themselves, versus worrying about anybody else and what their own issues may be, or that could be judging or try to throw upon them, I guess, in any way. They're only focused on their journey and making sure they're helping people along the way as well.
Definitely.
I love it.
Wow. I'm so excited to answer this question. I've been worried on getting the service right. I haven't thought much about it, but the idea of a warrior is fascinating because it can obviously mean a lot of different things. I think as we've communicated to you, due to the nature of our message, it's often thought about in terms of love and how we actually are, like what we're putting out into the world. And in order to understand my place as a warrior, I have to understand what the battle is that I'm fighting. And I think that there is a battle in the world right now, and it's a nonviolent battle. In essence, it's there's a love war. There's light and there's dark, and I think we need people who are choosing to be on the side of love, who are choosing to fight for that message, that are willing to maybe not even be liked,
Right.
And there's actually a really awesome book that I read. It's called Love Warrior, by Glennon Doyle, and she talks about being the path of a warrior is I will not betray myself. I will trust the still small voice and not let fears drown her out. I will trust her and I will trust myself. Love, pain, life. I am not afraid. I was born to do this.
That's beautiful.
And it really lands with me in this essence of kind of living above the line, right? Perfect love casts out all fear. The path of a love warrior is one of trust and of knowing that this battle, while it may feel at times that we're surrounded, and that there's not much hope, that it's always worth it. So a warrior keeps fighting, and they keep moving in that direction, because even if it doesn't always make sense, it's always worth it. And so the key to that is just not forgetting what battle we're fighting, and that at the end of the day, all of us are on the same team, if we really allow ourselves to be. And so it's so easy to get wrapped up in the brand name. It's so easy to get wrapped up in my own story because I'm experiencing it through my lens. And a true warrior sees the bigger picture of the battle that's being fought, and they're willing to lay themselves down for the victory to occur. And no one warrior can fight a battle, right? It has to be a collective effort.
I love that. That's a beautiful definition. Thank you, Henry, for sharing that.
Of course.
So, guys, coming to an end, tell me where my viewers can find you guys, and also tell us when or is there a way to see your show? Is there a way to see your movie that when it's like online? Is that possible, or it hasn't been up yet?
We'll definitely go check out the trailer. The trailer is up on all of our platforms. The movie is called Blue Marble Sky, so it's pretty easy to find it if you just toss that into Google. You can find us on Instagram at Blue Marble Day, or Facebook at the same. Our YouTube, where we've started to post more content, is just Blue Marble.
Perfect.
And we'll, everything is there. It should be accessible. And as far as the release of the film, this is our first time doing this, and we're trying to figure it out. So we're not totally sure how it's going to drop, when it's going to drop. I think there's some fun in the mystery behind that. So we're planning a couple more cities. We're actually doing a showing in New York in a week, and from there we're just going to keep intentionally surrendering to wherever life wants to take us.
Awesome. Thank you guys, and I will put that there under the video below when I upload it, and share with my viewers, and then we can hopefully get more people to go see your showings and more supporters for Blue Marble. So I'm really excited on your journey. And guys, thank you a million for being on this show, and I'm so sorry with the whole signals and the service. It took forever, but I appreciate you both. Seriously, thank you.
No, this was great. Thank you so much for having us. I think your podcast and your message out there of just finding people who gauge your curiosity, and you believe other people might get some sort of value from their story or from their message. I think you offering that as a service and starting to facilitate that is a beautiful thing. So thank you for listening and having us on here.
Thank you,
awesome.
guys. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
you. All right.
Hadeel,
Is that him clapping? I don't know.
Thank you. We appreciate you a lot. I really get the sense that you understand the bigger picture of the battle. And so thank you for fighting out there in the name of love. And we look forward to talking again soon.
Perfect. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Henry. Thank you. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Live your best lives. And Fletcher seems like he's donezo. So stay tuned for the next episode, guys. Bye. Thank you.